All right. All right, well, before we begin, I want to remind the commission members and members of the public to follow our code of conduct and meetings. This includes commenting on the specific agenda item only and addressing the full body. Public speakers will not engage in a conversation with the commissioners or staff. All members of the commission, staff, and public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Repeated failure to comply with the code of conduct, which will disturb, disrupt, or impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, may result in a meeting. That being said, the meeting will come to order at 7:02. Will the commission secretary call the roll?
Chair Ramos,
Here.
Vice Chair Banks. Here. Commissioner Wolf. Here. Commissioner Solano. Here. Commissioner Hill. Also Westfall. Here. Commissioner Apostira.
Here.
Commissioner Rosenbluth. Here. Commissioner Sandal.
Here.
Commissioner Mendoza. Commissioner Rooney.
Here.
Halls. Here. Commissioner Bird.
Here.
Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Bustamante. Here. Commissioner Baker. May we have forum?
Thank you. Okay. Item number 2 on our agenda is public comment. This is the time for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. The Brown Act prohibits the commission from discussing any item that is not agendized. I see no speaker cards,
No.
so we will move on. Next slide, please. Item number 3 is the consent calendar. And 3A is to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of January 21st, 2026. Is there a motion? Commissioner Wolf.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Avestida. Are there any speaker cards?
No.
Okay. All those in favor? Is there any opposed? This motion passes. Okay. Moving on right along, folks. Fun times. All right, item number 4 is our discussion and action items. The next business, it's our next business of the day. Our first item will be a branch spotlight on the library we're in, Vineland Library, presented by Paul Wilson. Yay. Let's all give Paul a round of applause.
Apologies for the AV system, our bulbs on the fritz, so we have to make do with our backup. But just to go over the Vineland branch preview a little bit. This is the branch opened in January of 2004. It was the first of the 6 sites funded by the bond mentor back in 2000. So a lot of the libraries that were open 2004 to 2007 were founded with that money. So this is a whole new branch. It was built brand new. There wasn't a library on the site before, so it wasn't a rebuild. So next, is this the clicker? Yeah, okay. So the art we have, building came with two pieces of art, the Blossom Hill Vine, which is in the children's area, and then the Wall of Wonder, which is both on the back window, we see it there, as well as on the front window that you come in. And a year and a half ago or so, we got a second mural in the children's area. Nature is Home by Morgan Bricker. So lots of art around the building. Branch Bats. We are the Sunday branch in this district, so we're open 7 days a week. Mondays and Fridays, 2 to 6, 48 total service hours. Council member is George Casey. Features 29 public computers, 2 study rooms, 1 quiet study room. And then our community room here seats about 107. And we have about 20 staff members, and our commissioner is Sharon Holt. About our community in this area, total population in our coverage area is 41,280. Majority of our residents are adults, ages 25 to 54, have a good amount of seniors, and then children, elementary and middle school age kids as well. Predominantly English speaking in this area, but there is a good amount of Spanish and Indo-European languages spoken, Chinese as well. We service 13 schools in this area, 7 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 3 high schools, and there's a private academy not too far up the road. You see diversity in our area, 49% white, a lot of multiracial in this neighborhood. So in terms of our branch overall usage, we're one of the highest used branches in the system in terms of both foot traffic and circulation. Total circulation in fiscal 24-25 is 366, 498. Average monthly gate count of a little over 12,000. And we get about 5,000, had about 5,000 computer bookings in that fiscal year. As you can see, compared to the prior fiscal year, our membership went down a little bit, but that may have been because of the discontinue of our digital e-cards. But our visits went up, programs went up, attendance went up. So all around, we do quite a good amount of rare programming every day here. In terms of circulation, top 5 collections. If you like children's materials, this is where to go. They're all kid stuff, picture books dominates, and that includes baby board books, but also easy readers, the fiction collection, especially paperback fiction, graphic novels, and then very also popular here is children's nonfiction. So a lot of STEM topics get checked out in our nonfiction collection. Top 5 languages in order: English, Chinese, Hindi, Korean, and Persian. Those are pretty much the dominant languages that's spoken in the community. But definitely the top 5 circulating. In terms of our overall programming, we have quite a lot here. We have everything from digital literacy, weekly story times, several expanded learning programs, such as our Game On for Teens, paid performers. We have weekly puzzle times. We participate in Silicon Valley Reads author visits as much as possible. Math club, and then our winter reading and summer learning programming. Cultural enrichment, Lunar New Year. This year was just this past Saturday. With our lion dancers. Visit from Santa. We also expanded our adult services last fiscal year and this fiscal year to include a couple of adult book clubs, including a silent book club, adult crafts, crochet and knitting, and then we have 4 English language learning classes. That is up from 1 a couple of years ago. So we have a good group of volunteers, and one who runs 2 of those programs are back to back, so she runs them both. So she is one of our stellar volunteers. Speaking of volunteers, about 80 volunteers in our sort of working with our friends group and with our librarians. Total about 2,741 total volunteer hours. And then they have 5 main volunteer-led programs here, reading to children, Game On for Teens, our Teens Reach meetings, and all of our ALL classes, plus our Friends of the Library who run 3 book sales a year. And as you can see, our most recent book sales, the one in the fall raised about $2,700. And we do a holiday book sale for kids that usually raises $1,000 to $1,500. And all that money goes to help fund the programs we put on, as I talked about in the last slide. One of our more popular and unique programs is called Dartmouth Recommends. Dartmouth, if you don't know, is a middle school right down the street. And about 6 or 7 years ago, a teacher, 7th grade English teacher, partnered with our librarian to have her class pick books from the catalog that they like, write a short 150 word review. So maybe I think it's 50 to 100 word review. And it gets displayed in the marketplace area of the library. So I expanded from 1 class when it started to all 3 7th grade English classes that happen at the school. It's about a 6-week feature where each class gets about 2 weeks to display their books out in our marketplace area. We usually reserve about 3, as many copies as we can of the books, and they're encouraged to recommend non-graphic novels, so they try and do fiction titles to make them interesting. But it's very popular with the teachers and the students. All the books usually get checked out by members of the community. The kids come by after school and love to point out the books that they have written reviews of, books that friends have written reviews of. So it's very popular. It's usually in the spring. This year's program will kick off in a couple of weeks. Run 2 weeks for a class. So it's about 6 weeks, early March through right through spring break. So that's one of our more unique programs here at Vineland. And then our staff thanks you. I'm the branch manager. There's my contact information. So that is the end of, and that, any questions, comments? That is my side.
Thank you. Before we turn to discussion, are there any public comments on this item? All right, so I will open it up for commission discussion or questions. Be gentle. Okay, Commissioner Brown.
Since this is working. No, I just love all the growth that you're showing and what you've shown us today of how programs are growing, the ELL program is growing. Sounds like you have a great volunteer group. I just loved hearing more about this library and I appreciated your time. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You wanted to hear about the librarian? Or you just wanted to hear about the library? Oh, okay. Okay. We appreciate support.
Commissioner Ravastida.
Thank you for that, Chair. Likewise, like my commissioner, I just wanted to make a comment. Commissioner Holt, you have a beautiful library. As I was submitting, I can got in awe of the lights and the trees that you guys have here. I love that. Big nature fan. I do want to say that good job with the program that you have connected to the community, especially with the school. I think that speaks volume. And I commend you and I keep up the great work. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Ms. Wolf.
Beautiful library, thank you. I love the Dartmouth program. I thought it was really very clever, and I like that you expanded it. It would be great to even expand it to an elementary school and maybe have some of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders do that as well, so that they could see their friends who have the reviews and there as well.
I will mention it to our librarian and we can see if we can get one of the nearby elementary schools to consider. A lot of work does go into it, so.
And you have the teachers do great too, I know.
Yeah, but yes, it's definitely worth taking a look at expanding. So we're proud of it. The librarian is really, who runs it, is really proud of it. So she's it's a well-run program and much appreciated around.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Commissioner McCreary.
I have a to comment, you know, it's so great to see how your volunteer-led ELL programs are. You know, that you have 4 of them and they each hit different points, I think is awesome. It's great to see that community being supported and that those programs are running. It's just really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, the volunteer, started with one, and she learned from members of the class that they would like to grow. It started with beginning as English. And they wanted to learn to do more conversational, they wanted to practice their writing, so she had the time, so. It was, well worth the effort. It's very, very popular. They get 10 to 20 class members every week, so.
Commissioner Buckingham.
Battery and set on.
How do you get 80 volunteers? That's so amazing to have such a large group of people. How do you keep them excited about showing up?
A lot of it has to do with our schools, the middle school and the high schools around here, especially Pioneer and Branham, are good at mentioning the library and working with our librarians and promoting volunteer opportunities. A lot of the teens, especially in this area, are come here to study, and they want to increase their volunteer opportunities. Some of them do it for school and college credit, but it's always that it's close to their home, it's something they're familiar with, so it's very convenient for a lot of them. And with the adults, there's just a good amount of adults who come here for story time when their kids are small. When now the kids more at school, they have more time a little more time on their hands, and they want to be active in the library and put on programming that they may have wished they had while they were bringing their kids here at a younger age. So there's a lot of pride in the community and people who want to get involved and stay involved in different ways. So the library is just one of those avenues. So they take full advantage, and they like the work for 7 days a week, and they can fit their schedule into the library schedule, so and vice versa. Thank you.
Commissioner Bustamante.
I have a comment and 2 questions. So one, love the Dartmouth program because I'm a middle school administrator, former teacher. Middle school is my jam, so I'm really excited about that. And then my 2 questions are, is membership based on who has a library card, and what is a silent book club?
The membership, yes, it is based on our current who has a library card, and sort of lists Vineland as their home branch when they create their account. A lot of folks have their card for a number of years, so they get it when they're kids are young, and then maybe they consider getting it for themselves along the way. And then when the pandemic happened, there was a lot of growth with the e-card that we offered. And we did have a lot of success in folks converting their e-card program into full-time library cards. This branch did see a large sort of influx of members who just didn't want to give up their library card. They just hadn't thought of it, hadn't got to it yet. But when we made the announcement and made the switch and gave up our e-cards, they were eager and just well accommodating to turn their e-cards into just a full access library card. So, and in terms of what the other question was, the Silent Book Club is a trend that's been catching on apparently in different libraries around the country, but it's basically a venue where people come in and read by themselves. They bring in their own book. They read for 30 to 45 minutes by themselves, whatever they want to read. And then the next half of the program, whether it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes, is spent going around in a circle, classroom style, discussing what they read, giving little recommendations or non-recommendations, as it may be. But basically, get a group like this, I mean, it's still small, you just started it, in the fall. Yeah, it's hour and a half, the first half is just reading by yourself. Second half of the program is talking about what you read on the internet, your recommendations, so. It's catching on, we get about 4 to 8 people each time we do it, so hopefully it'll catch on and keep on growing.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners that would like to ask questions, contribute to discussion? All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thank you for welcoming us to your branch. 4B is the library security update, and this will be presented by Ann Rodbrook. And it's a report on our library security.
So we'd like to welcome Ann Rodbrook, who's our program manager over facilities, logistics, security, and also Lee Pendleton with our security services.
Take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Well, tonight's a really special night because for the past few commissions, I've been talking about our library security. But today I finally get to talk about it with a person that's been so instrumental to our library security and his dedication. So, Lee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello. Hello.
I think they switched it.
Hi, good evening. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Lee Pendleton. I'm the security supervisor for the San Jose Public Library. A little bit about my background is I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps Infantry. After that, I spent 10 years as a community service officer posted at King Library, the San Jose State Library, next with King. I was a supervisor there for further 2 years. After that, I got hired for the city as a senior security officer and for 6 years, and then I've been in this position as a security supervisor for 3 years.
Security is Lee's baby, and I'm so happy to talk about it. I start off every security briefing with this notion that it's our values. The library serves all customers equally and is open to everyone. Our goal is to create a secure and welcoming place to learn and explore. And the way that we do that is around 3 foundational pillars, if you will. We dedicate a lot of resources into staff training. And with that training, it helps staff enforce the behavior policies, which make sure that everybody can enjoy the library and its resources equally. And then around staff enforcement and behavior policy, it's a cyclical round of education, both from the staff to the patrons and the patrons back to the staff. So that's pretty much how we think about security at the library. And I think we should talk about it.
Okay. Thank you so much, John. The San Jose Public Library security responsibilities come in 4 key elements. We have an in-house branch security staff that their core function is to respond to incidents, de-escalate situations, coordinate further with staff, and respond to police if it's warranted. Then also provide staff trainings. So staff are aware of, say, the difference between dangerous versus disruptive behavior, and that they are aware of what the policies are. We also have a branch complex security element that is in place at 7 of the 24 branch libraries. Their core function is to provide a visual deterrence and also report any suspicious activity or any policy violations to the staff, the security team, and also police when warranted. We do communicate instances where it may be criminal activity or say trespassing to San Jose Police Department, where they will come out and assist us. Also, if we're serving a suspension with an individual that may be aggressive in nature, we call it San Jose Police so they can come out and do a civil standby and help assist us. For San Jose State University, King Library, that's overseen by University Police and their community service officers. Their core function is to enforce the policies at King Library. And if situations warrant, then University Police will come out and assist them as well.
Our in-house library security focuses mostly on the branches. branch support. However, there's a symbiotic relationship between in-house security staff and university police. That said, it's because when our in-house security officers explain suspensions, coordinate with police, there's this element that has to have information sharing. So when someone is suspended from the branches, they are also suspended from King Library and vice versa. And the key to maintaining that is our in-house security. And we also cost share with San Jose State on the cost of BPD officers, both CSOs and student officers. Okay. This is what we look like now.
Yes, definitely. Our security structure as it sits now is we have a program manager, Ann Rodrock, myself, the security services supervisor, and we currently have 7 full-time senior security officers. We call them senior resource officers. The way that we align the security officers is very similar to San Jose City Police's divisions. So they have Central, Foothill, Southern, and Western. So we have senior security officers that will go out more often and interact and engage with staff, conducting follow-ups and also liaising and providing providing information to San Jose City Police, the division captains, the district sergeants, to let them know what's going on in that particular community. We have 7 full-time positions filled. We have 1 senior security officer vacancy along with a part-time vacancy. This provides us operational capacity for 7 days a week coverage from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m.
One other thing that I would like to note about the division of senior security officers with the Beats PD Beats is that ideally, just like San Jose PD, we want our security officers to respond to incidents and pairs when they can. It's a safety function. And ideally, we would want them to check in with, the division captains always change every 2 years or so. So having a dedicated person, 2 people to provide that backup and build those relationships with the police it's very important, especially as they're trying to expedite response kinds of things.
Onboarding for our team has proven difficult at times. It's a very unique position, not just in the city of San Jose, but in general. The senior security officers have expanded duties. It's not just observe and report, it's coordinating with police, it's escalating to executive administration. There's a lot of moving parts. Sitting on the Youth Empowerment Alliance and communicating the information to those entities is very important to us. So our training structure, our onboarding structure is very robust. The training block 0 consists of in-house PowerPoint style training, where the new officers are basically taught the library's policies as a foundation, the San Jose Public Library hierarchy, our suspension process and appeals process, because we do have to enforce our suspensions for individuals that violate our code of conduct. Also report writing, which is very robust. We want to make sure it's not just the who, what, where, when, and why, but we want to make sure that everything is clear, factual, and buttoned up, because our paperwork or our documentation could be used in court. It could be used for other circumstances. We want to make sure that everything is completely buttoned up and factual and concise. So with that, they also visit the branches, because they're going to be going out to the 24 different branches throughout the city of San Jose. In training block 1, they have the opportunity to shadow a trainer, a seasoned senior resource officer. They will be exposed to the day-to-day activity that the senior resource officer normally would go through. So interacting with staff, conducting follow-ups, vehicle patrols, foot patrols, serving suspensions, and then also again, continuing the branch visits. Block 2 is where we empower the new senior resource officer to engage more with the staff, to take a step forward, to engage not only with the staff, but also with the patrons in the community, to gain a rapport and a relationship with them, to also interact in situations that may warrant de-escalation and follow-ups. Training block 3 is again, continued routes of patrols, but at this point in the training, the trainer will actually shadow the trainee and will assess their progress in how much they've grown throughout the training process. It's a continued refinement of reporting and investigation. Again, the reporting structure is very robust. We want to make sure that we have all documentation for every situation that comes along. And we need to ensure that they can respond and triage calls and also accurately communicate to police and executive administration when warranted. When warranted. Post-training, once they successfully complete our onboarding process, we want to make sure that we provide varied trainings to help their developmental growth. For example, PC 832 is a training that is put on by the San Jose Police Academy. It's post, so it's Peace Officers Standardized Training. The title is Laws of Arrest, but it's actually more community engagement. What type of laws have changed, how the communities have changed, and basically interacting with different agencies that are in the same course. So it's a direct correlation. They'll be experiencing talking with parking compliance, law enforcement, probation, community service officers, and they're exposed to individuals and agencies that they may interact with in the future. The Texas A&M Active Shooter for Civilian Response is also a training that we put on, and we make sure that all of the senior security officers are able to provide that training. And then we also give assigned special projects. For example, we have one team member that's really good at CCTV placement. So we went through a whole process of updating the CCTV at all the branches, and we used their expertise to make sure that we had the best angles possible.
So we just walked through an entire probation period per officer that pretty much captures all 6 months of assessment for fitness. It captures, if you imagine taking somebody that's brand new to the library system, brand new to City of San Jose. These staggered trainings help provide the support that's needed for someone to grow. It also helps them build rapport with the team, with the staff, build trust with the agencies that they have to work with. And by the time that they're at post-training, we are so confident that they are a fit. We're confident that if they get a call to respond to staff, that they would know the first instinct is to de-escalate, is to make sure that the staff are safe, make sure that they are safe, communicate precise, accurate information to the dispatcher so that the dispatchers can call 911 or call PD. And that by the time that police arrive, no one's hurt. And that is the goal, that is the goal for all of our training. And if you recall our staffing structure, that is why it takes so long to fill the positions that we have. And that's why we have the vacancies that we do, is that not everybody is a fit. And when you get past the recruiting period, the training period also makes it so that finding the right fit is not always quick and fast. So I know that we have some new faces. And so I want to take a moment to talk about our contract security staffing. We call it a supplemental staffing structure. It's really taking the data of incidents throughout our system. And we look at this monthly, and we decide our contract security coverage on a 6 month, 4 month basis. And for the branches that have higher incidents, higher rates of incidents across the board, we will staff accordingly so that that branch gets the extra support that they need. So you'll see Alum Rock is staffed 3 days a week, their peak days of activity. Bascom has 4 days coverage, Biblioteca 3 days, Educational Park 3 days, Hillview 2 days, Joyce Ellington 2 days, and then Tully the entire week. It helps us ensure that in addition to in-house security, checking in with staff, that there's always a presence where the staff need it the most. And so looking at the past 8 years of data, we see consistently that Alum Rock, Bascom, Biblioteca, East Branch, Joyce Ellington, and Tully experienced the most incidents, the most safety incidents over the 8-year period. We also noticed that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are peak days in which we have more incidents across the system, across the board, across the years. And then I say this, I like this because it's very interesting. 2017, 2018 is when we launched the incident tracker system. And 2020 is where we see the pandemic, so you see the drops. And then coming out of the pandemic, every fiscal year, we have seen a rise in incidents, but it's not that because the incidents are more severe. I would say part of the contributing factor is that we added more SROs every year. And with more security officer staffing, that means more incident reporting because our data is driven by the incident reports, and then more documentation. And I think like that's one way to look at the data as we get more information into the system. And then more security unit staffing with more security officers means more trainings at the ground level with staff, which means more incident response, incident reporting. So it's one way to look at the climb of incidents over the fiscal year. These are the incident categories within the last 3 years. You see that trespassing is the most prevalent incident category. We have quite a few large disturbances, quite a few encampments. Facilities hazards and vandalism sometimes go hand in hand. And I want to say for all of the categories here, our system has gone through various iterations of incident categories and cleanups and those kinds of things. So you'll see that some of the categories can be redundant, but it's capturing when we've moved things over. And going back to mean incidents of the day of the week, I mentioned Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are our peak days. So we staff accordingly. So you'll see that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we have the most SROs on staff. And this is a heat map of the hours of the day that we see the most activity across our system. And you'll see here, 10 o'clock to about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock is where we see a lot of activity. So staffing the officers to support the days of the week that we see the most incidents, as well as by the hour of the day. It helps us better ensure that there is quick response, helps us better ensure that there's opportunities to train staff, and then helps us train staff so that we can collect more data so that we can do more things like this. I think now that we have new faces, in 2022, we completed a security assessment by a vendor named TRC. And that security assessment gave us 4 buckets of recommendation. Bucket 1 is related to staffing. So staffing security officers, staffing contract security. There is a training recommendation on what trainings the branches and the system needs, active shooter training included. There's facilities improvements both in the interior and exterior of the branch, landscaping, as well as systems improvement. So, ways to improve security incident tracking, communication, those kinds of things. And so the 4 buckets get broken down into these categories, and I'll be quick. Permanent and contract security staffing. So the recommendation is that we staff 10 security personnel in-house. We've done that. We have that we only filled 7. And then complementary contract security staff at the highest risk branches. We've done that. Security and emergency training. So we've implemented branch specific training. So the way that we do that is that our senior security officers are trained the trainers. They are certified the trainers for active shooter. They also conduct panic button trainings. So all of the trainings that they attend, they are expected to retrain the staff. And that is the train the trainer model. So we implemented branch specific training. So we look at the dashboard. We look at what incidents that branch experiences, what type of incidents. We look at all of the incident report. And then we hold biannual trainings on how staff could improve. That goes along with active shooter training, both online and in person. And then we look at organizational-wide training. So like Lee mentioned, just dangerous and disruptive behaviors, getting the staff, especially with the turnover, to know what's dangerous versus what's disruptive, how to communicate that clearly. Active shooter, like I said, panic button activation, 911 reporting. And then we train in-house, our in-house officers also train contract security officers on our policies and protocols on what to escalate. And we hold our own trainings to ensure that the officers posted at our branches are familiar with the staff, with the policies within our system, and then who to call to get notified, those kinds of things. That is why we have a better retention number than the other departments who use contact security in the city. And then facilities improvements, the recommendation is that we install security cameras at all library locations. That is done. Every library location has security camera capability, and they're working. All library locations have panic buttons that are inspected biannually for functionality. So we run this panic button test every 6 months. And for the ones that are detected as faulty, we replace them within a week. Lighting and signage improvements. So this is an example. Vineland Library has very bright lights. I'll go over a few of our lighting improvements in a little bit. And then currently exploring options for badging access at all locations. So we still stick by key punch codes to access our building, and our goal is to have that be badging so that we can better control access. And then systems and procedures developments, we implemented a duty line to streamline dispatch calls and dispatch calls. So we don't have a 911 center, we have just officers. So the duty line makes it so that it's easier for staff to just remember one number, call one number, and when they call that number, an assigned security officer will pick up, will help them either de-escalate or help them notify. Police will make sure that the information is transmitted to the other members in the team so that the staff aren't looking up a map, looking down a phone log to contact somebody. We've also expanded policies and procedures related to privacy, filming, and cybersecurity. Those are things that are newly added within the last 2 years as we've experienced them in our libraries. And then we've improved systems for incident tracking and case assignments. So looking at our categories, making sure that they're reflective of what we're seeing out in the branches, that they're easy to discern between, easy for staff to enter information. And so these are some of the big buckets of the security facility improvements. So you'll see here we've completed a lot of LCP LED fixture upgrades at our branches, including, Vineland's here. It's supposed to be done within the next 2 weeks. And we've completed about 4 within the last year. And then panic button replacements, we ran a test within the last 2 months. And we found that these branches had faulty panic buttons, or at least one faulty panic button. We've completed the replacements for them. And signage improvements, we've completed designated private areas, staff-only areas in all of our branches. We've updated parking lot signage at Tully, and then we have planned a few more parking lot signage at the branches that we see a lot of overnight parking or vehicles that are left there for a long time. That's what's planned for this fiscal year and next. Okay, and then lastly, I want to talk about our library safety and security committee. The committee has focused on a few things over the past few years. They've looked at community supportive resources, so validating the resources that our housing department has out in their pamphlets. We've looked at the privacy policy. We've touched on emergency and disaster preparedness, but for the last 6 months, we've looked at the behavior policy, and that is really our North Star and how we want to move forward with training and things like that. So the behavior policy came with a few recommendations, and Lee steered it, so that I want to make sure Lee talks about it.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Anna. So we wanted to make sure that the behavior policy evolved with clarity and transparency. We want to make sure that The policies were clear not only to staff, but also the community that works them up and understands that, where a violation lays. So in December of 2025, we went and we brought the policy to the Safety and Security Committee, and we went through it line by line, literally line by line. And looked for areas that we could expand or clarify, or items that we didn't have in there before, and maybe we could use it as an opportunity to make an addition. So we gathered everything, put it into a document and presented it in the beginning of January to executive leadership for the library. We took their feedback and edits, and we approached San Jose State University and University Police along with their lead community service officers to see if there was any other areas that we could expand or suggestions that they may have. We took and finalized that document, and our next step is actually to finalize the changes and review with San Jose City Police and the City Attorney's Office. Once that is completed, then we are hoping to post the policy on the website and roll out staff training so that the staff are aware exactly where the edits will end.
And that's it for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to ask if there's any public comment on this item. Okay, so I'll open it up for commission discussion. Commissioner Avestida.
Hello, good evening, Commissioner Avestida. I represent District 5, Adam Robbins, and I'm sure that has seen a lot of activity there. However, my question revolves around training component and training mechanism. Is there anything in training mechanism or training component on what to do with federal officers? Is it one of our principles?
Yes, we have internal procedures that are published and sent to the staff on what to do. And then our security team also as well.
And is that something that it's already included in your training component? Yes, under which block?
Oh, that would fall under the training block 1 and 0. That's where all of our policies, procedures live, and that's where most of our in-house time, you will, like the next 2 blocks are just out in the field, the dedicated time of first.
And during the board of insertion.
The question, Commissioner. In addition to our security team's response, we actually have guidance for all library staff around the concept of and how to respond in federal enforcement, enters the premises and how to work with them essentially, and how to engage with administration. There is citywide guidance as well for city staff, but we did modify it specific to library laws. So the training is actually for all staff, not just for our security.
And I care about in curiosity, since you would be sort of the first line, that were to come, what is that policy or
Essentially, so libraries are different than other city entities in that there's state law that already protects against protects information that is library patron information, which includes your presence in a library actually. And so we already had procedures in place around how to work with law enforcement. We work with them all the time around that require a court order of some kind, of legal court order for us to release any information, whether it be, computer, library record, anything. So it is just a modification of that where a court order is required to release information. However, we also are very mindful of staff safety and safety of all patrons. And so there's a heavy emphasis on being very clear that we're not trying to restrict access or be preventative or be a barrier, but that our staff have to follow the procedure, which is to basically engage with us and our city attorney quickly to assess the validity of the court order. But staff are instructed not to put themselves in harm's way and to help keep patrons out of harm's way.
Any additional questions? I had one, under your incident, your beautiful heat map. Right before then is the incidents by category. Are those duplicated or unduplicated individuals?
So you'll see, I wanna say this. It will capture, let's say, I'm Lee Pendleton and I'm causing a large disturbance at the library.
Godly.
And I've been suspended for my behavior. So I wanna say, the incident tracker will track that Lee Pendleton is suspended for causing a large disturbance. And if he comes back, it will also catch Lee Pendleton trespassing. So I want to say it captures instances like that, and especially for people, we have regular friends, if you will, that will have the same repeated offenses. The incident tracker will capture all of those contacts.
And as a follow-up, for those who are regular friends, if one of those regular friends happens to have a restraining order against them, what is the protocol to ensure that they don't continue?
The protocol is for staff to notify us and as well as call 911 immediately when they see that friendly person and notify the dispatcher that this person has an active restraining order against them. And that we need police support right away. The senior security officers will also be en route to come to that branch. That's why we divide them up in districts the way that we do. And then they'll have the suspension and the restraining order to support the responding officers. And usually that results in an arrest or a trespasser.
I was just gonna add, thank you for the question. We also align a suspension, a library suspension with any restraining order. We're aware that there's one of the customers that did something. Right.
I'm so glad that you brought up the trespassing and the restraining orders. One of the things that contract security cannot replicate and cannot do that our SROs can do is have that ingrained knowledge of all of the people. So I could be driving with Lee Pendleton, look around, and be like, that's John Doe 66. I will not be able to do that. But over time with the training, our security officers really get to know the branch, the regulars, and the issues in the community. And they've been so instrumental. When a person gets arrested, they monitor the docket. They reach out to the city attorney's office. They hand over everything that they have. And usually that results in getting the district attorneys and the judge looking at their arraignments to determine a better outcome than just releasing that individual right back out into the street. So that has happened before.
Thank you. Any other questions from Commissioner Busberg?
Thank you. When you started tracking 2017, is the goal to have patrons and staff feel more safe and a more positive experience at the library, or kind of what's the goal?
I would say I wasn't here in 2017, but I think over the conversations that we had and just looking at our incident tracker, the goal is to really understand what issues we're dealing with. What things are we seeing? How should we respond? It helps us understand how we should staff. And really the goal is to provide a better library service through our operations and security. It's just one of those functions. So we look at how we can support staff. If staff are dealing with more trespassing and more people being belligerent and rude, there's a training component that we can build around that to better support staff. Collecting the data also helps us understand if we're providing enough support or if we need more support or where it should be placed. So I think that's the intent, is to look at ourselves more operationally and see where we can.
Do you evaluate at all whether or not staff, like if this makes them feel more safe or same with patrons?
We have daily conversations with staff, and one of the things that the staff has expressed to us and so about these touch point trainings is that we read each one, and that just the safety in knowing that the officers know the individual or have, I want to say, history with that individual. Their phone calls become very short, and then it's like so and so is back. can you please come? There's no long lengthy explanation. And so what did you do? What did you say to him? They just know. And I think like that trust building with the staff is so important. It helps over time. Thank you.
Commissioner Agustina? Going around through here.
Thank you. Security is very important, topic in one of our cities. So with that, thank you for also the work that you do. I know that's a very hard job to keep our community safe. I like curiosity, why do we have so many incidents in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week? Are people just hungry? Have we studied that or?
They're angry.
Yeah. It looks like it was, 11, 10 AM, they start getting angry and it's 2 or, the incident, so.
Part of it is because our data is driven by the people entering the information. People entering the information are staff, right? So it reflects when staff are open in the branch. But the earlier times reflects when our security officers are working. So then you'll see that they start visiting the branches very early, 7, 8 o'clock. And they don't stop until 7 PM. So the rise or the bigger incidents during the day attributed to more reporting. It could be that more people, like students, visit the branches during that time. And that people, like you said, people have woken up and decided that, they can make their way down to the library.
I would just add though that just logistically speaking, we're open to most locations the longest hours on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we're open to every location to meet them on those days, whereas the other day there's variation of hours. So there's just more as well. And one of the interesting thing I asked Hannah when she showed this to me, that you'll see that there are incidents at like midnight. And I was asking what that's about, but it's actually because we do now have security footage, we have security cameras at all of our branches. They actually timestamp the incident to when an incident occurred. So there are incidents happening outside the branches during both hours.
Yeah, and if staff see it, they report it, and then we track it.
Any other questions from our commissioners? More questions? Commissioner Mendoza.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just wondering, the contracted security officers go through that same training?
The contract security
Yes.
officers, they go through policies and procedures training. They don't train up to the level of a senior resource officer just because it's not in the contract. So, and they don't have an enforcement structure. So they're trained in the branch, like the branch incidents that we go through, like these are the incidents that the branch sees the most. And then we give them scenario-based trainings like, oh, if someone comes through the branch and does X, Y, and Z, what is the protocol? What do you do? Our security officers train them up to that. And it boils down to noticing a violation right away, reporting it to the senior security officers and 911 if it is super violent, and then documentation afterwards.
Thank you. You answered my next question, which was that what was their role, right? If they were reporting to you or reporting. Perfect. Thank you so much.
If you have a question, all right, Vice Chair, let's go.
I just wanted to thank you for all of the hard work that you are putting into training staff to protect our community. The levels of training that you have seem very comprehensive. And going back on the slide, I believe in your post training, you had mentioned that you're doing work in terms of connecting with your community and partners and understanding the demographics and just kind of like the geography of that's surrounding your libraries. That is a humongous component to this work. And so one, just thank you for all of the data that you're pulling and the intention that you're trying to set when it comes to making these spaces safe for our communities. We need these spaces, and safety can a lot of times be pushed under the rug. Can be an invisible pillar when it comes to looking at this space. And so the work that you're doing is great. I think that the work that you're doing is great. And so thank you for the commitment that you're putting into it. And how in-depth you're going when it comes to training your staff, because it is needed. Especially in times like this where our communities are being destroyed and being brought to their core right now. We need spaces where our families in our community can continue to show up in safety. And we need the pillar that you bring, the security that you bring is an important component to maintaining this space. And so I just wanted to share that and say thank you for the work that you're doing. I can see that it's very comprehensive, that you have taken years of data and information and incident reporting. It is not easy. As someone who has worked on a school campus, as someone who has worked in homeless shelter before, who has done community engagement in all kinds of ways, we need this. And so I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Briggs. So I think that's it from the commission on discussion and questions. As this is an informational item, there is no vote needed. We thank you, Ann and Lee. Item 4C is the Equity and Inclusion Services Report. I think that we will be with our Chief of Staff.
All right, good evening, commissioners. It's my pleasure to present today's Equity and Inclusion Service Update. This is an annual report. Right around this time of the year, my name is Carla Alvarez, my pronouns are she, Aya, and I proudly serve as our Chief of Staff. So first of all, happy New Year. We're still celebrating it throughout the system, so I hope you can still make your way if you haven't been to one of the celebrations. And also, happy Black History Month. You know, it's not just 1 month, but it is important to celebrate 100 years of commemorating and honoring the many contributions of Black history and culture as part of our American history. So, an important month all around the system. I wanted to include in honor of this anniversary an exhibit, and this deck, you'll see an image of an exhibit that you'll see throughout various library locations, and it honors some of the first Black students enrolled at San Jose State University. And so as part of wherever you see these portraits, it will also include a description to invite members of the public to learn more and engage more about this history here locally in our community. So this equity and inclusion report that I have the opportunity to provide is an important moment to illustrate the many ways in which San Jose Public Library really serves with intention for all of our diverse communities throughout the city. And public libraries as a concept really started in the 1800s in the state of New Hampshire. And it was then later catalyzed through Andrew Carnegie's philanthropic investments that really took the model nationally. And really the goal of it was to address the knowledge divides and addressing the inequities that we saw to education, to literacy across the country. So libraries since then, and for every decade since, have really carefully looked at what are the barriers of accessing their library centers to their residents, and the impact that this has on access to information, access to knowledge, access to opportunity, access to technology, access to all kinds of opportunity. And really this shows that libraries have been at the forefront of leading as equity champions from the very beginning. So our SJPL mission, vision, and values reflect the same. And embedded throughout all of these policies, procedures, and frameworks is the firm belief that libraries are for everybody, regardless of location, language, ability, technology access. These truly are meant to be spaces for all, for exploration, for increased opportunity, and serving as critical community hubs to increase quality of life for all. So a little bit of the infrastructure, especially for our newer commissioners and members of the public who might be listening. All city departments, as part of the city of San Jose, we develop what we refer to as a racial and social equity action plan. We have at the city of San Jose an Office of Racial and Social Equity. And so these are 2-year plans that are developed, and they're broken down into 3 categories. We have normalize, organize, and operationalize. So normalize activities really focus. Put this down to my opinion. So our normalized actions really speak to familiarizing and creating shared language. Our operationalized actions really focus on ensuring that organizing is capacity building, and we're operationalizing is actions that seek to understand, identify, and act on racial and social inequities. We have a variety of groups here at the library that are staff-led, open to anyone of any classification, that really tackle equity in different dimensions. And so we have a racial equity team, an LGBTQ+ committee, a disability access committee, trauma-informed, resilient-oriented care committee, and a community engagement committee. And they have been leading the work since 2020, when we really first began our first iteration of our equity action plan, identifying corresponding work plans that they tackle throughout the 2-year periods. So we are now entering the 2nd year of our current equity action plan, and this is our 2nd equity action plan. So we've now been working on and using this framework for 4 years. So I'll have a summary of some of our main normalized actions. Several of the reports, it's 17 actions total that were created for our equity action plan for this current 2-year term. And so several of the action items were already completed and reported on last year. So this is a summary of the progress since from January to December of 2025. So for our yearly workshops on racial equity, LGBTQ+, disability access, and trauma and resilience, we had a few related activities. So we've updated several reading lists, including for our LGBTQ+ and our disability access pages. And we're also in the process of all of the staff across the library system will be participating in a workshop on fostering belonging. So that's actually taking place this month and next month. We're also all working on, as all city employees, completing a racial equity training that was developed by the Office of Racial and Social Equity. And so the library is at over 98% now of library staff who have completed the required training. And all new employees have to complete it within the first 60 days. So that 2% that was remaining, that was pending, were people who were on leave of absences, for example, or were on vacation, and so they will be completing it. And we continue to do that as an ongoing basis as new employees join. We also use our collection HQ tool, as we heard from our staff colleagues last month on our from our collection catalog team. And so we have the top languages, because we're monitoring 3 locations as a pilot process to understand how people are engaging with the equity, diversity, and inclusion topics within this tool. So we're looking at BLA, Joyce Ellington, and Tully. And so the top circulating languages for adults are Chinese, Vietnamese, Spanish, Indian languages, and Korean. And on the subjects of identity, so either Black, Hispanic, or Latino, mental, emotional health, equity, and social issues at large. And Commissioner Baker, who was not here, but I did also want to make sure we address the disaggregated component. That was for adults, and for children, according to the tool, the top children's materials and language are Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, and Indian languages. And if you recall from our spotlight from last year, we have a holistic library initiative that really addresses support systems and programs for people who may be experiencing homelessness. And so we have this variety of different programs. We have job fairs, resource fairs, and individual consultations. Since last year, we have actually seen a 37% increase in our programs, particularly around individual consultations, mainly stemming around support of how to navigate the housing support system and how to get plugged into the county's homelessness resource platform, which is called My Connect SC. One of the biggest projects that I became a part of when I first started my role here at the library now 5 years ago, no 6, was really developing with a core group of committee members to develop the equity, diversity, and inclusion quality standards. And what these quality standards help us do is to understand and evaluate how a program might be deepening equity and where there might be opportunities. So as of this past year, all the library adult programs, all locations had to choose at least one adult program to evaluate using the EDI quality standards assessment, and completed a couple rounds of pilot programming testing and evaluations. So I wanted to take a moment and highlight 2 of the particular programs who applied it year over year. They did it last year and they reapplied it again. And so for the Holy Branch Citizenship Program, they changed their score by 3%. So they took it from an emerging level to an advanced level stage. And what they did to really try to better address equity is that the instructor introduced it, getting to know students component that at the top of the class spends time kind of thinking and talking to the students about their countries of origin and how that compares to US history as a vital component of really trying to get to know each other beyond just a standard curriculum for preparing for the citizenship test. And then for the FJPL Works, no, I'm sorry, that's supposed to say the book club. There was a typo. So that was the Vineland Book Club. That actually increased significantly, and it went up to the advanced stage, making a 20% gain. And so what this participant group met right before this meeting actually is that the facilitator now regularly has a structure to request participant feedback about what kinds of topics or titles the participants are interested in reading more about. Now they hold a quarterly vote to really make sure that they're getting consensus across the group of what is most resonating to the members of the group. And they're also drawing from our library's equity calendar that highlights the Heritage Months to try to encourage folks to align some of their picks to correspond with the Heritage Months. So these are some of the examples that we've seen from the learnings that the staff are seeing that they can then try to make the programs even more inclusive. We're also trying a citywide pilot with some best departments. And so we have an electricity bill relief program with our energy department. And so it's really trying to address people who are on the verge of not being able to pay for their utilities or are experiencing a hardship to pay for their utilities. And so by taking the assessment, they saw the opportunity to actually broaden the network of city departments and nonprofits that they could work with to make sure that the public message was reaching a more diverse audience than they were previously reaching. And so they were able to do a 26-point increase. And so really seeing a lot of progress in there. And then our senior nutrition program, which is through Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, they also saw a big leap, 23% increase. Now they're solidly in the advanced category. And so that, after taking the assessment, they saw that they could incorporate more trainings on racial racial equity. And they are also made more efforts to improve multilingual outreach and materials. Under our operationalized actions, we are making a concerted effort to really make sure that the vendors that we work with, paid and free, really reflect more of our San Jose diverse communities. And so we now have over 95 free vendors and 99 paid vendors that speak to a broad range of different programming options. To give you an example, we have had new vendors added to commemorate Jewish Heritage Month, Nowruz, Silicon Valley Weeks. And so we have now also working very closely with the city of San Jose. We have a language access coordinator and a disability affairs officer coordinator at our library department that coordinates with the citywide coordinators. And they're undergoing a series of projects, sometimes working to broaden the vendor pool access that we have for language access, for example, or also engaging in participating in disability fundamentals and other trainings that will then be replicated and shared with more staff. And so we are now in the process of almost concluding our equity action plan. It technically officially ends in June of 2026. This is always planned and submitted. Our quarterly progress is shared with the Office of Racial and Social Equity at the City of San Jose. And so we will continue for the next plan. We're getting ready to do our equity, diversity, inclusion, quality standard assessments for our library programs in May. And we will finish wrapping up the remaining activities. We're almost through with all of them. And now we will await to gather some of that data that we've been collecting to set the new benchmarks to guide our 2-year plan, also in alignment with budget direction and new priorities that might be established by the Office of Racial and Social Equity. And that concludes my presentation.
Commission discussion, do we have any public comment? All right. I will open this up for commission discussion and a question. One. Twice. Excellent job, Carla. Thank you. We'll make this right. We'll make next item. All right, so since this is an action item, yeah, I would like to entertain any motions. Oh, God.
Motion to accept the report.
I saw vice chair as the mover and seconder from Commissioner Rothenberg. All those in, I don't, seem to be roll call, Commissioner. Yeah, I can say all in favor, it's not have a roll call. Perfect. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Are there any abstentions? This motion passes. Thank you. All right, our last item under discussion and action items is also an action item. So this would be 4D, adopt the annual commission budget position message to the council from our subcommittee members. I will turn it to you.
Awesome. Good evening, commissioners. So that one before you is our annual budget position letter that will go to city council. So as part of the budget development process each year, we submit this as a commission. And I'd like to thank our subcommittee this year, which includes Commissioner Bays, Commissioner Bostonbrook, Commissioner Rooney, Commissioner McCrary, and Commissioner Augustina. So we really appreciate your time and commitment and thought leadership on putting together the draft memo. I will actually be turning it over to Commissioner Bostonbrook tonight to highlight the focus areas and programs, and then we'll open it up to the full commission. You'll kind of have a discussion and you'll be able to make edits and adds, which we'll incorporate into the final letter, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, you all should have received the letter. It was in the agenda, linked in there, but if you need a copy, it's on the back as well. We heard last month that the library, even mid-year, had to make some changes and think about budgets and things like that. So as our subcommittee was coming together, we are aware that there will be budget challenges. But we also we're all here because we care about the library. So obviously, we want to make sure that that continues to be funded. The library is an essential city service, and we understand that this is one of, well, the best city services that we provide, because it is about growing our community in education, in learning, and community. We kind of talked about a bunch of those things today. But I just want to go over kind of what we talked about, our process. What we did was we had everyone review all of the things that we had talked about this past year, their own notes, looking at all the presentations, kind of pulling together everything. And then we had everyone write what they felt were priorities, and then put it all together in this little letter that you've got. So you can see some of the main things we talked about were maintaining core library operations and staffing, making sure that they get to stay open as many hours as they are. As we just heard, that is impactful for the community members here. It matters. The second piece, preserving and expanding library services and collections. Again, we heard last month about the collections, digital collections as well, and the what's going on there. The third one was strengthen workforce development and career pathways. We see so much how many of the career programs, we had a little bit of conversation of that tonight, but at the last meeting as well, over the course of the whole year, we constantly hear about how all of these programs are helping our community. So we want to make sure that that is able to stay and continues to be a focus area. And then supporting libraries as community hubs for learning and engagement. Again, going back to the programs, we saw it tonight. Look at the participation, look at the need as well from our community. And we all know that we're a little underserved in Santa Clara County and San Jose. And this is how we make sure that doesn't get worse. We have to make sure that even when budgets are hard, that our libraries are still fully funded. And the last piece was advancing the facilities and customer experience master planning. That presentation was amazing, by the way, but there's so much stuff that needs to get done. And we want to make sure that that can continue to happen. Because if our spaces are not accessible and available to our constituents, then they don't get to use them. That's the whole point. But yes, this is our letter. Again, hopefully you had a chance to read it beforehand. And then we can discuss and take questions.
Before we take questions, is that it? Yeah, for both of you? Okay. Before we take questions, is there any public comment? No, right? I'm gonna open it up for commission discussion and question. This is the important document. Okay, Commissioner Mendoza and then Commissioner Apatino.
Mary Ellen.
All right, so I just want to also thank Commissioner Rosenberg for all the work that you put in this. Thank you for that. I did wanted to just at least for the contention for District 5, which we have 4 libraries. One big point was to maintain our library of reductions and staffing. So I'm happy that that's being maintained not only for my district, but throughout the whole library system. So thank you, for thinking of that.
Right, well, thank you for the time it took. I've been before, and I know how difficult it is to keep it to a page and a half, supposed to be. A good job, but I hate to make a suggestion because I know it's another sentence that we're adding to it. But we had a presentation recently about, and it had the specific numbers for the e-books and the e-resources, and it had the backlog of how many people were on the wait list for items. So I just wanted to, if we could insert some data in there, just like a quick number, something impactful to really grab the attention of some of the council members or the mayor. And on that note, also the AIs for all initiative, I think, was a big one that some council members and the mayor were really excited about. So if we could just highlight how, we're like the Santa Clara libraries was ranked, I think, #1, right, from residents, like kind of out there and that initiative and how.
I never do that, I don't know. That's okay.
We're sort of.
They have chickens.
And so how it's not just because It is, just because of the investments, and if we want to continue to be there, we need to continue to invest in the library. But I know that was a lot. But just like, if we could just put like a number, I think for that, that's important for the reflection.
Yes, so and then I think I was gonna say, we can take a vote to, or like consensus vote to make sure everyone is gonna do to add all those things, but I am taking.
Okay, thank you very much. There, stuff. Okay, Commissioner Wolf.
Thank you for the time that you put into this. This is great. You have a great line, which you highlighted at the end, which delivers over San Jose's commitment to opportunity becomes tangible, but it's kind of like mirroring the lead, it's at the end. And I'd love to see it up front, so, you know.
Any other questions, discussion, but Commissioner Bustamante?
I just had a clarifying question because it says from the maintain core library operations and staffing. Preserve current library hours, so branches remain open and accessible 7 days per week, but. My clarifying question is that all branches are open 7 days per week, so is it referring to just the branches that are open 7 days a week, or are we also asking that all the branches should be open 7 days a week?
I like where you're. Yeah, I think the preserve, it was as the branches as a whole, so the branch system is open 7 days per week for the first time, you know, and that started 2 cycles ago, and we were able to preserve it last year. Any growth would be sort of something we can look at separately.
We can clarify as well, but it's why the uppercase L instead of the lowercase L, the uppercase would indicate the library system as a whole, and then lowercase L is like a library.
Commissioner Hall?
Thought on that. Thought on that great sentence, whether to put it at the end, any helps, I mean, apply. It's a very powerful.
Any additional feedback?
I just want to give kudos to my fellow commissioners who put in a lot of work on this very amazing letter. So yeah, I don't have anything else to add, but I do agree with the other points that were shared.
All right, on that note, with those suggestions, let's take a vote. And so does this come as a fully formed motion, or do I take a motion? Sorry. Okay, so I will entertain any motion.
To approve the letter with the edits that were we mentioned by the other commissioners.
All right, so moved by Commissioner Abastida. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Bossenbrook. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? This motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. For rounding. Knocking that done, not feasible. All right. Item 5 is our council liaison announcements, and I will recognize our very own Councilmember Rosemary Command.
Thank you so much.
This is a great life.
I've not been here, but it's absolutely wonderful. So thank you for the invitation. So one of the things that our city manager does is that she has these, what she call intentional interruptions. She goes out of City Hall and tries to visit others, be a police station, it could be a fire station, it could be a library. So I was invited because she was doing a few in District 1, and we had an intentional interruption to West Valley Library, which is absolutely wonderful. She also invites senior leadership
to come out and take a look at what some of the, who the staff is, what do they do? What does the space look like? Which I think is just absolutely marvelous, to be able to bring our leadership teams to be able to see what is happening, in our neighborhood. So I did that last week and I thought it was absolutely fabulous to be there at my library, the West Valley Library. So, it's one of the busiest in the system, so I was very, very delighted. We also celebrated Black History Month, or last Friday, we had a big celebration, invited everyone, it's open to the public, and about 300 people came, maybe plus or minus a few here and there, which was absolutely wonderful to celebrate Black History Month. And of course, many of you know, last time I was here, I spoke about the budget. We did have our very first budget study session on February 5th. And it's online if you want to see what the priorities of different council members, so the things that they brought up. But we're expecting a 55 to 65 million deficit. So it's last year we had a deficit, but as we started earlier to not we had a hiring freeze, and then we managed to keep all of our current staff. We didn't have any layoffs, but people were moving in different directions. So I think that our city manager, who had been the budget director for many, many years, has been really trying to find different ways of either increasing revenues or trying to find ways so that the impact is not that great. And of course, we don't know that. I will tell you that it does come up in our discussions on the council, and I know you're one of the favorites. So, but it is going to be a challenge, and the mayor is going to have his March budget message out on March 9th. So that's where we begin the process of seeing what are the things that rise to the top. And, we are going to have our same priority areas. We're not adding, we added one, but I think it's just splitting two of the different items. So we have 6 now. But I think that's pretty manageable. We are going to have a public hearing on March 17th. So March is going to be a busy month. It's just the beginning, so there is time. But I think that we're looking at things very, very closely. And unfortunately, there may be some, sort of shaving here and there. Every department has been asked to take a look at what they think in their departments could be recommended to reduce the deficit. So we'll work together with the different departments and do that. I just wanted to mention, in case you didn't know, Silicon Valley Reads has launched, and of course, there's a lot of collaboration that the libraries do with Silicon Valley Reads. So if you're interested, you can take a look at their website and take a look at what we're doing at the different branches in the celebration of Silicon Valley Reads.
Thank you, Councilmember. Or really clapping for something. Item 6, since we have announcements. I have no announcements except for the fact that I had a lovely community event at the West Valley Branch Community Room, and it was very successful. And I highly recommend, if you have community events, use our community rooms in the libraries. It's only $40, so it was kind of cool. Like if you're looking for a venue, I just highly recommend. That is my announcement. So item 7 is the library director's announcement. The chair recognizes our city librarian, Jill Bourne.
Thank you. So as you heard from Carla, we are celebrating Black History Month, and in addition to the Black Departments exhibit that you'll see at branches throughout the system until March 20th. We'll have until March 20th. We also have an exhibit on display in the King Library called The Art of the African Diaspora. And it's on display until February 22nd on the 2nd floor. So make sure to check that out. Secondly, I know there's a lot going on in San Jose this year. We have Super Bowl adjacency and a big concert downtown and a lot of excitement. We've got March Madness coming this year to San Jose. We also have let's see what else. Oh, World Cup is coming, right? So many great things, but all of that pales in comparison to the SJ26 library card. Limited edition SJ26 library cards. I will pass around. You can get different colors. Very limited. You can only get this at the King Library or else or if you know somebody. You know somebody. Well, you're commissioners, so let us know. Yeah, so only available this year and while supplies last. So if you like one of these cards, you can swap it out. You can go to King, swap it out for your current card and celebrate SJ26 with us for the rest of the year. They've been very popular, I will say, especially the city manager saw it and she called me and said, I need one of those cards. So anyway. And then lastly, we have a super popular event, which is celebrating Persian New Year, which is called Nowruz. We've had it traditionally at the West Valley Branch Library. It is so popular it outgrew the library. And then we hosted at the Almaden Library and Community Center last year, and we had 1,500 attendance. So we've outgrown the Almaden Library and Community Center. So this year we're going to have it at City Hall Rotunda on Saturday, March 14th from 2 to 5 p.m. So it is going to include remarks from San Jose Councilmember George Casey, who speaks Farsi, and Anthony Tordillos, as well as our own Councilmember Kamei, and performances from the Amir School of Music and Beshkin Dance Academy, as well as fun activities provided by Free Crabtree Silly Circus. So it is free. It is, again, one of the largest free Persian New Year celebrations, which is, I think, why we get such a huge crowd. And it is supported by the Friends of the Almaden Branch and the Friends of the West Branch. So if you want to find out more, you can get the details at sjkl.org/Nowruz. But I hope to see you there. Let us know if you plan to attend. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Director Ford. All right, we're gonna move on to comments and announcements. Item 8A are announcements and meetings attended by commissioners as commissioner. Is there anyone who wants to? Commissioner Buckenbrother.
I actually just have a question. My council member called me today and asked about the elevator at the Bascom Library and if that was fixed.
Sorry, he called you to ask them.
He did. And then I saw him later in the day and he asked me again.
Go ahead, Director.
We can follow up with the office if you're not in the middle of that. Facilities matter, but the issue with the Bascom Library is that it gets fixed and then it has some malfunctions again. So I would say that the answer to your question is yes, it's been fixed, but it's also not always functional. And I don't know if we have an immediate status report. It's currently working. And we are working on a long-term fix and figuring out if it's electrical panel replacement or a full elevator replacement or something else. So there's a lot of technicalities to that elevator, as well as the fact that apparently the finish on the elevator is a public art piece, the gold finish.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with all that and hoping for a permanent fix.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And for our other commissioners, it's because the Bascom Library is upstairs.
Okay, any other, okay, so we'll go back to comments and announcements. Any announcements and meetings attended by commissioners as commissioners? Commissioner Rooney.
Yeah, I'm from District 9 and our councilperson Pam Foley, an extremely effective, very impressive person, is leading the council. I believe she's turned out and elected not to run for re-election, but at any rate, there was a recent event, a sort of a bi-party, whatever you wanna call it, for our community centers. I represented the library commission at that. And I gave a little elevator speech to the folks that were there, in which I was describing what the library did. There was a reason we are called the Library and Education Commission now. And that library is no longer some crabby person sitting in a corner saying, hey, you shut up. Those days are over. So I try to give in about 5 minutes a description of what sort of programs, facilities this organization now offers. And I think I surprised a few people by what I told them.
Well, thank you for your representation. I especially appreciate that you remind people that we're a Library and Education Commission. It's one of your education seats. Anyone else? Yeah, absolutely.
No, to Councilmember Kamei, about the money, because money's so important. Do we have any idea of how much of that money from Super Bowl is going to be able to bring any kind of relief to San Jose?
Surely the letters. That's a good question. You know, there certainly will be an uptick, you know, in terms of revenue. It's really hard to quantify and say because, you know, it was sort of a shared experience with other cities and, you know, so we believe that there will be something better, but the problem is we don't know exactly because it lags, right? And so we'll have to see. We're optimistic. We're also optimistic with March Madness and, you know, FIFA and everything else, which we hope will, you know, kind of elevate things. But it is hard to say. It is hard to say because we thought that it was going to sort of like really, you know, especially sales tax go up, right? And it's just, the good news is that it's not going down. Bad news is that it just kind of is leveling off. The other thing is that properties are not turning over, you know, like they had been previously. They're not selling as much. And so the property tax has really not increased the way we projected it to increase. So that means that we have a gap to fill because we thought that it was gonna keep going up and it did not, so. And by the way, when your council member asks you about something that needs to fix, tell them, please make a budget document that by the funding, because every council member will do a budget document, right? So it's just a reminder that yes, we need infrastructure number 2.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Facilities master plan. Yeah, I just wanted to add that I believe when the city manager releases the proposed budget in spring, they do try to capture the latest estimates on revenue so that it mitigates any kind of reductions that they have to go for. So we might know a little bit more before the final budget.
Okay. Item 8B is the San Jose Public Library Foundation Board, and I will recognize myself as your liaison. Since we're talking about budget and everyone has so many questions, why don't you join us to talk to your council members? It's gonna be fun. The Joint Advocacy Committee has held 3 meetings with council members so far to voice our pride in what San Jose Public Library delivers and to reinforce the detrimental short-sightedness if there were to be further cuts to their budget in 26-27. We now have a budget letter that's official-ish. It's official, but we'll wait for the comments back so that it's signed. But as you know, it's typically saying no cuts are acceptable and keep the budget at current levels.
Yes.
And I highly recommend you see my Councilmember Mulcahy about that. So we encourage all commissioners to sign up for our advocacy newsletter, sjplf.org/advocate. To stay informed and to speak with their council member. Earmuffs for our staff, because the foundation is collecting love letters to the library so that we know that everyone on the library commission has some form of affection that can be shared at sjpls.org/thank you SJPL.
She loves how we just took care of
So be surprised when we get a love letter from us. And then, for those of you who are active in your community through your neighborhood associations, our chief executive officer is here in attendance. Thank you, John, way over there. Feel free to invite the foundation to speak at your neighborhood association or work or class about the importance of a strong, vibrant public library system. More people should know more about this awesome anchor institution, the way that Commissioner Roney did at a recent community event. So thank you for your time and attention, and I think I'm gonna move on to the next item, which I think is item 9. And that would be information and upcoming opportunities for commission participation. If you want to also represent the commission, there is a full SJPL program calendar at sjpl.org. And of course, our librarian has shared a bunch of events coming up, so highly recommend you all join. Item number 10 is items for future commission meeting agendas. Are there any future agenda items not covered in the work plan that anyone wants to bring up?
No.
Okay. So the next regular meeting will be held on March 18th at 7 p.m. at the Dr. Martin Luther King Library or Junior Library. And this meeting is adjourned at 8:47 p.m. Thank you all.